What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing amazingly well and super excited to talk to our next guest, who is an amazing actor and a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's really cool. Armen Garo joins the show again. I think we were not doing Zoom. I didn't start doing Zoom and TV except in the studio 2020. We met before that. Armen, thanks for stopping by now. We can see each other face to face. We know what each other look like. We pick up the phone and talk to each other. Now we have Zoom. That definitely changes things in interviews, doesn't it, Armen?
Absolutely, because my first experience with Zoom, unfortunately, was a callback during COVID, and I absolutely hated it because I was not used to this format, what we're doing right now, and but I did it. It was successful, and everything went well. Uh, and then twice I did a theatrical reading at someone's behest. So I did that. And then I got to learn that, boy, people were doing all kinds of theatrical productions on Zoom. They were recording it and then posting it. And and I told people this that were doing this. I said, I can't think of a worse venue to use to do this. This is just not, it just is not how you do this. Someone's tablet or service might be down or not working properly. And I just thought, man, we got to get back into theater spaces and rooms, physical rooms, studios, because I just did not. It wasn't something that it's excellent for this purpose. See, this is a good setting for Zoom for um, computer monitor based conversation, things of that nature. But to use it otherwise, boy, that's a stretch. It's tough. But if I guess if you can't get anywhere, and if you have no other way of listening to your words, a playwright's listening to his words or her words play out between people, if there is no other way, it does serve a good purpose for that. It's very difficult for me to get used to.
Absolutely. All right, Greg, go with your first question for Armen.
Doing well. I'll tell you, Armin, for not loving it. You're doing well with
I
it.
mean, for example, right now, I'm not looking at you, am I? I'm not looking
No.
at either one of you. I'm looking
Yeah.
at I'm looking at where you appear on my screen. And that's
Right.
what made callbacks all that difficult. So I had to get used to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, I'm
And
always looking at that
oh
little
my
green light or
God,
camera,
the green light.
but you don't get to look at the person. So you
Talk
got
about
to
the
imagine
twilight.
them.
Right, exactly.
You have to
So
imagine them. You have to imagine them naked. No, I'm just kidding you. But isn't that how you do it with the 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 people when you get on a stage? Is you got to imagine them naked. That's I always heard that story, right? Armin.
well, I never did that. I never did that because my experience in front of large groups of people began at Albany Academy at a very young age there, at the age of 12, 13, something like that. And it was an all-male college preparatory military day school. And when I performed there in something called the annual declamation contest, which was my first experience in front of large groups of people, I didn't know this, but the girls came over from across the street from the girls' academy. And I didn't know that that was going to happen. And so I got used to at a very early age to get accustomed to large groups of people. And because it was, uh, you had a bunch of alpha males in there and do what they do, like they do in the locker room. Uh, During one of my one of the competitions, I had written a piece called "Happiness Is," and I was up there in the finals performing. And two of the seniors were making the worst faces at me to get me to laugh. And and that was my first experience with, for example, an ad lib. and because I was talking about all the things in a military school that could cause you to be happy, not getting caught walking up the down staircase, things like that. And and I said, and happiness is being able to continue your declamation even while these two knuckleheads are making faces at you. But I guess happiness is also getting 5s and 6s on your pink slips so you can play sports that weekend. And everyone knew that reference. I know you guys don't understand it, but if you didn't do well in school during the week, if your grades were below what they should be, you were placed on pink slip. And you didn't play basketball or swam, you didn't play football or soccer to represent the school on the weekend. If your pink slip, which you kept with you every day at every class, and the teachers, instructors would sign off to see what your effort was and to see if you were making the grade for that weekend. If you didn't make it, you didn't play. It didn't matter what kind of a star you were. And the whole place cracked up. I got what I wanted. I was able to fall back into where I was, so that element never kind of crept into what I was doing. And
Wow. Well, that's a great story.
So they were, yes, they were naked in a sense because I made them naked.
Yeah.
But I called attention to that.
Well, Armen, you've played some really tough guys, some characters in Sopranos, The Departed, another terrific movie. Sopranos, what a series that was.
Yeah.
What's your secret to playing a really great, convincing wise guy?
I don't think it's I don't think it's a secret. I had the fortunate or unfortunate experience. Let me rephrase that. What you do as an actor is to observe everything and everyone around you all the time, all the time. And it wasn't until I moved to, I was living in Providence, Rhode Island, and a friend of mine had gotten me a job in one of the nightclubs that was run by members of organized crime, and who had their front people in there with clean records to run the club. And I came into contact with a lot of these people. Did not grow up around any of these people, did not befriend these people, did not hang around with these people. But I worked in a club as a doorman, and not a bouncer, a doorman. And then the bouncers were separate. And you just make observations of as who and what people are as people. And they happen to be people that do things like the people we see in these films. And I would just make observations. So it wasn't really a secret. It was just understanding who these people are as fathers, as grandfathers, as brothers, uncles, who look to people like Raymond Patriarca, who was the founder, whose name is the name of the New England organized crime that bears his name, the Patriarca crime family. I would have contact with people who saw him as a father figure, as a grandfather figure, as a brother, as someone who they deeply admired, but also feared, and someone that didn't replace their real fathers, although in some cases he provided the kind of, whether he knew it or not, by default would offer the kind of fatherly leadership or advice that their fathers, either because they never had a father, didn't know their father, or because their fathers were abusive, or because their fathers just did not provide the kind of guidance, if you want to call it guidance, that he did for them. So you'd see how that worked and why that worked. It's important not just to know the words and the kinetics, the kinesthetics, and the body types and movements and the phraseology, but you want to understand exactly why was this individual impacted the way he was or the way she was, because there were women that were involved in certain relationships with people in that circle. So it's not really a secret. It's just an observation. It's no different than observing how lions interact with each other in a pack,
Mhm.
in a pride,
Yeah.
rather.
Were you all ever like your character? Like when you got angry and upset as a boss and different things, were you ever in your real life have that type of temper out in public sometime or different things like that? I've done it as a professional wrestler. I've made a mistake at times when maybe having a little too much to drink or different things. I would go and act that kind of character and sometimes go fly off the handle. Sometimes art imitates life. How about you?
The only time I never really, the only time I ever displayed public anger, it's not the type that's cinematic or something you would draw on. Um, the anger that I utilized is the repressed anger and something that's buried below the surface that simmers. And that would come out, but in a controlled sense, in order to accomplish something, whether it was a fight in the ring for kickboxing. I would channel whatever frustrated and angered me in my own life and direct it at this individual. Uh, but and that's how I did that. And the anger that I would show in with these kinds of people are like in these shows reflected my observations, and then I would in the crafting of what you have to craft for whatever role, you would see what is similar in what this writer imagined, what is similar in what the things are that you've observed. The only time I ever displayed anger and pretty much lost it, and I absolutely lost it, is when I was bouncing at a club. It was a club in Rhode Island called the 2001 Club. And there was another bouncer there who was not on his work night. I was working. And there were a couple of pool tables. And these two prostitutes were going after trying to stab a girl for being they were sisters, these two prostitutes. And there was a girl flirting with one of their boyfriends, and the both of them went at her with a knife. So we separated both of the girls. I pulled one across the room to one side, and the other bouncer pulled the other one that way. And I told her to simmer down. As I turned around, just as I turned around, the other girl, without unbeknownst to me, had grabbed one of those crystal ashtrays, those four corner ashtrays, and winged it across the room. And just as I turned, it hit me in the head.
Oh,
So I had stitches here, here, and worse, I had blood on a brand new shirt, and I lost it. I lost it, and it got worse. It got much worse after that. It went out into the parking lot. The police came. I broke my knuckles. If you can see, I don't know if you can tell that this knuckle is
Mhm.
flattened. I broke that on. I broke it, and I used. I lost it. I publicly lost it. If I and The girls got arrested, and the guy that tried to intervene on their behalf, who really didn't do anything wrong, caught the worst of it that night. He got arrested, and that was the only time I lost it. And I've never really utilized any of that in theatrics.
Okay.
It's just,
we were talking about Boston earlier in the green room, and obviously the movie you were in, that famous movie, The Departed, with such a
oh,
cast that
yeah.
was in Boston. Do you have any like I don't know, memorable moments, favorites, behind the scenes or in the movie, or anything you could share with us?
Well, I'm not sure how interesting they'd be, but I was absolutely walking on air during that because I didn't think I was going to get hired for that. It was a long, long time after the callback, which was in the auditions and callbacks were in Boston. the filming was all in New York. A couple of outside exterior shots across the landscape of the Boston skyline. I was smoking a cigar nearby while I was waiting. I was waiting to go on, and this production assistant came over to me, and he blocked the view. Marty was about 70 feet away discussing something, and this kid comes up to me. He goes, "Oh no, get rid of the cigar! Get rid of the cigar! Get rid of it! Get rid of it! Get rid of the cigar!" And I was like, "What? What's the matter?" He goes, "Marty has asthma. He hates smoking. He hates it. He hates it." Blah, blah. So immediately practically burned myself getting rid of it. And I said, okay, all right. And he didn't see me. And the only other interesting the point of interest during that was that there was no dialogue written in the script for that scene that I was in. None. It was, I'm looking, because I received the script finally, and I'm going through it. I didn't get the script until I checked into the hotel down there by Pier 17, and I'm like, I don't see it. And then I see one line: the two Providence gangsters get the beating of their life after insulting the store owner. That was it. There was no dialogue. And I thought, well, the audition was unscripted as well, and I had improv something, and Marty liked it, so I'm looking at this. I'm saying, oh wow, this guy's he still wants us to do something. I don't know what you don't know what's going to happen, and yet you show up, and there's like 30 trucks, several hundred people. So right away, there's a lot of money being spent on this one day. So Marty's direction to Billy Sylvia. I'm sorry. That was an audition partner. I apologize for that. Johnny Chenatiempo, who played the other Providence gangster, and Gurdeep Singh, who was who I called Babu, who was the art dealer that changed the picture for Paulie Chirico in the Sopranos. Same guy. And Marty's direction was simply, you're here. He owes you money, Armen, Johnny. He owes you money. He doesn't have the money. You're pissed. Do something. That was it. And then he went like this. He wanted people to just make way for him so he could go to lunch. And he told the first assistant director, Joe Reedy, to take us through some rehearsal for that. And then we did it. We just ad-libbed back and forth, doing different things. And then later that day, the script supervisor memorialized it in a script. And then the next day, we went and filmed it. And when it finally appeared, I didn't recognize it because the editing had changed the order of which everything was done and said.
No.
So I didn't even recognize what was going on. But it was pretty cool the way it turned out,
Exactly.
It's
Now,
awesome.
before Greg hits his final question, I can't believe you give such great stories. What are your latest projects that are happening? Well, I remember the latest one I would know that got real big press was CODA. But
Oh
what
yeah.
stuff? That was an amazing opportunity for you. But what other projects do you have going right
Oh
now?
yeah. CODA was, oh man, that was dynamite. Well, yeah, the Academy Award for that was huge. That was big. Best Picture. Yeah, it was a real boost. So anyway, there are 3 projects that are in post-production. One, I think I sent you the link. I sent you the link from the Boston Globe on Federal Hill, and it's a planned 5-year series. They're in negotiations with one of the platforms to do that. The pilot is done. It's called Federal Hill. and I was Michael Correnti wrote, produced it, and I'd worked with him before. Excellent, excellent director and producer from Rhode Island, and he reached out to me to play the role of Raymond Patriarca, and it's a lot of fun, well written, and we're waiting on. I'm just waiting to hear how that's going. But they're in the middle of anyone that wants to go online to the Boston Globe articles and bring that up in the search engine. The article is there, and it's basically the story about the origination of the Federal Witness Protection Program by by Robert F. Kennedy and Herbert I'm sorry, uh, uh, Hoover, the director of the Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI, and how they tapped an FBI agent who later became the commissioner of public safety in Providence, John Partington. And it was really exciting to do that. So I'm waiting for that. They're in negotiations to finalize that. The other project is called Shackled. It's a high concept science crime thriller, and it was written by Graham Powell, for whom I worked before, and Matthew Bayer. Very, very interesting script, a story that if I had time to imagine something like this, I wouldn't have come up with this. The short 20-minute short that I did with him that won Best Picture, a crime narrative at the Long Island International Film Festival in 2014 was that kind of story. This is completely different, yet has that knife twisting element to it that's, whoa, I didn't see that coming. So I'm really excited about that's in post-production, hopefully to be released on a platform later this year. They're scoring it, colorizing it, taking care of the hues. The third one is I'm losing track here. Let me see, what do I say? Shackled. Oh hell! Oh,
Is that on your IMDb page?
Yeah,
is that on your IMDb?
Once a week for life. I'm sorry, Once a Week for Life, which is a 4-part or 5-part miniseries, written, produced, directed, and acted in by George Zuvalos out of Queens, New York, Fiat Lux Studios. I was involved in that. I was able to co-write some of the scenes I was in. I wrote a couple of things for him in that. I got to know him, got to be friends. Yeah, that's going to be that's an exciting project that'll be coming out again. Hopefully, they're in post-production later this year. George plays the role. It's a story about an uncorruptible lieutenant, narcotics lieutenant in the NYPD, played by George Zuvalos, and how he cannot be corrupted by the mob, other corrupt officers, and that follows his travels through his adversities in his personal life, and as well as the conflicts in his personal life, as well as the on the job. So that's also that's in the works to be released. Then there is something called I co-wrote with George something called, we took an option out and co-wrote a screenplay on a book that you can get on either Walden Books or Amazon, called The Abduction of Lily Waters by T.M. Novak. My wife met her at an art festival here in New Milford. Got to be friendly with her, bought the book, brought it home, gave it to me, said, you have to read this. And I didn't want to read it because I don't want, it's homework, I'm retired. I read it. I'm glad I read it. It's incredible writing. unbelievable writing. So we took the option out.
And Armen, I'm sorry, we got to go to the last question.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let's go to the last question, Greg, with your last question, Greg.
All right, great.
All right.
Armen, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. It's a real privilege.
I'm not used to this format, so it's tough for me to, I stay in my lane. I shouldn't get out.
That's no problem. Armen, tell me, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
The most important thing in life. Wow. Most important thing in life is to understand, I think, what's bullshit, what's not, and knowing when not to do something, when not to react, when not to talk. Probably those are the most important things.
Awesome. Wisdom and discernment. I love that. Very nice.
Yeah,
excellent. Thanks, Armen. I appreciate it. Best place we can go right now is go to your IMDb, right?
My IMDb page, yes. There are works there. There are also I post things. I'm on Facebook, and I post things that are up and coming, completed and up and coming to be released.
All right,
I
fantastic.
don't talk about what my hopes are. I think I'm doing it. I don't do any of that.
All right. Just check it all out. Definitely Armen Garo.
On Instagram as well. Armen Garo.
All right. Appreciate it, Armen. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Celebrity Interview.